Hello everyone, and welcome to my sneak preview of my workshop at the Microsoft 365 Community Conference in Orlando this year. Become an AI hero, an AI builder hero with no data science required. The reason I did this workshop, I'm going to do this workshop, is because I'm doing lots of projects. I'm in IT and I work together with data science people, really data scientists, and I have no clue what they're doing. But nowadays the technology is so far away that we don't need to study 5 years of data science to use AI in our own advantage. So this workshop will be totally about that one. What we will talk about today, and also during the workshop, of course, is why do we need AI? What are all these strange words in AI? Because it can be very confusing sometimes. And Microsoft changing the wording will also not help us, of course. What topics and technologies will we cover during the workshop? And your first AI project. We'll do a full first AI project during the workshop. Now, it's impossible to stop progress. I got this clipping from a newspaper, I think from the UK, that back in the 1980s, math teachers protested against the use of calculators for children. They would say, yeah, children are getting stupid because of, they're using calculators and they don't know how to do maths anymore. And then this one is from a recent Washington Post, where the New York City blocks the use of ChatGPT bots in its schools. So you can notice the difference. You can see the similarity. A calculator is now in your phone, in your pocket. We use it. Yeah, we don't use it for math anymore. We don't use math anymore. We just take out our phone and calculate something if we want. Well, ChatGPT is on the same rise. I think we can fairly say if a teacher tries to block it for children, it's probably going to end up in your pocket, in your phone, which ChatGPT already is, by the way. So things change with AI. Employees change, but employees stay, but only the job changes. I'm from Belgium, so this is in Dutch. I'm sorry for that one. I'll translate it for you. It's a Dutch company, and they're introducing a 4-day work week. So they told everybody at the office, you don't need to come 5 days anymore. You get the same pay. You just need to do it 4 days, but we are going to do more because of automation and because of AI. So see, employees stay, but the job changes because they now have to use more AI in their daily jobs, and they get a day off because of they're using more AI. It's an experiment that the company is doing. I have to be fair; it's not every company that does that. It's not the Netherlands is not the heaven of work people, but yeah, it's something that we'll have to keep an eye on, as well as really normal academic papers will say, yeah, if you use AI and big data, then we'll reduce costs, increase profits across entire organizations. So we all heard of agents these days. It's AI agents. Well, we'll take a really deep dive in how we can do that. What's the difference? For instance, if you have a question, we can have different kind of agents or bots that answer our question. And back in the day, I was about to say, but yeah, let's say 3 years ago, we would have something that I call a smart search. So if somebody would ask a question, how can I do a parental leave? Then, okay, then you did a search and then it said, yeah, I found these relevant pages. My background is in SharePoint. So you would type this in, how do I take parental leave in SharePoint in the search page? And you would get different pages from HR telling you how to find parental leave. I think nowadays we're more on the assistant kind of step. It's not because everybody calls it an agent that is actually the definition of an agent. It's my personal view. These days, and we go to our private chatbot, or what they call agents these days in SharePoint, and we say, how do I take parental leave? And then it will, of course, just tell me in my own wording, in normal human language, like a real person would answer me, you have to do X, Y, and Z. Take these steps. And of course, I found these steps in these and these documents or in these pages in SharePoint. Is there anything else we'd like to know? That's what they call an agent these days. I still call it an assistant. Why? Because I think the next flavor of an agent is when you ask, how can I take parental leave? It will plan that leave for you. It will say, give me the birth certificate, or when are you planning to have the baby? I will plan everything for you. Your leave is planned. I will put in your out of office automatically. I will do this and I will do that for you. So it will not only understand what you want to accomplish, but it will do those tasks as well for you. Of course, those things come at a cost. Configuring a search on SharePoint is how much work? Half an hour work, not even. It's out of the box these days. So that's cheap and easy to build, easy to maintain, because yeah, it's out of the box. Microsoft maintains that for us. But of course, it's less serving. We don't, help people as much with that. If you have an agent, okay, nowadays, I'm hoping in the future it will be better, but nowadays we have to configure it. We have to make sure that it's maintained. It has to know, okay, our HR system is called X, Y, and Z, so it has to be able to talk to the HR system to even plan your leave, and it has to be able to talk to your Outlook to even plan your out of office. So yeah, that's going to be a little bit more work and a little bit harder to achieve, meaning it will be a little more expensive. But then again, it will, if you want to take parental leave and something does that for you, and the only thing you have to do is tell it something, that will be so much easier than searching between, 25 different HR documents and making sure that you find the correct steps to follow. Now, also, we have some terminology confusion. We'll take that into account as well. If I say, what's a model? Okay, this is about AI, but maybe I'm referring to a real model. Could also still call that a model. Or maybe I'm referring to like a climate model. And what is the climate change going on? So that's also a model. Or maybe I'm referring to, in this case, ChatGPT. So that's context. We need to, especially with AI models, give our AI models context about the company we're working in and about the things we handle every day. If I say cell, I can mean like a real human living cell, or I can mean like a jail cell, or I can use, maybe in this case, I'm in IT, probably everybody's watching is in IT. Well, we can just say an Excel cell. That's also a possibility. Or if I'm an engineer, I would probably use an electric cell. So those are the terminology confusions. So we really, during the workshop, tackle those terminology confusions and how to get that out of your AI model, and how to introduce that into your AI model if you really need that. What we will also tackle is, does AI suit my use case? For instance, we'll discover what's the goal. General productivity gain, is it for a particular use case? So let's take, for instance, Microsoft 365 Copilot. That's for general productivity gain. You will allow everybody to use it. They will be faster in their work. They will find stuff more easily about the company, about people who they work with. If they need to find somebody who's an expert on some matter in the company, Copilot will generally make people more productive. But then again, it will not help if you want to solve a particular use case. If you want to, let's say we sell fruits and vegetables, it will not know. It will know a little bit about, how long I can keep this fruit good in the fridge, and how long I can keep the other fruit good in the fridge. But yeah, that's just general knowledge where the model is trained on. If we have a special, if we're selling a special product, like for instance, I have a customer who makes zinc. Well, that's very specific. Those recipes to make zinc, it's really proprietary data. Nobody can know how they do that. So yeah, Copilot is not going to know that because it wasn't trained on that data. It was trained on internet data, publicly available data. So if you want to solve a particular use case, yeah, then you have to probably train a model or make sure that the model knows that particular data and that to solve that particular use case. So we'll dive into what capabilities do we have? Do we have what model can we learn what things to do? What's the cost about it? It's really good if let's do an HR bot, and now it knows the HR relativity, the HR specific things in our company. How do people do parental leave? How do you have to request that? But if it costs like an arm and a leg, if you have to pay 500,000 a month, then yeah, then there's no use case, of course. Data sources. What data sources can we use easily? What can we use easily? Is it structured data, unstructured data? How does an AI model love that? For instance, I know from experience that you could put as much HTML data in an AI model. They don't really like that because an HTML is really, if you ever opened up HTML, it's a lot of additional stuff. So it's really hard to read, not only for us, but also for the AI model. So you have to take that into account. Is there, of course, an automation potential? Can we automate stuff? Can we really use agents? Can they automatically do stuff? What's the user experience? If an AI model is really unfriendly, then the user experience is not going to be great. What are the limitations? Are there any limitations? It's AI, of course there are limitations. And what's the implementation effort? If, for instance, I have a use case, but that use case requires that I will need to, hire 20 data scientists who are very expensive people paid, then the implementation effort is going to be really hard. So that's the things we will cover during the workshop. Now let's do some demos. That's more fun. I'm a hands-on kind of guy. I love to do demos. For instance, I have my own company. We'll show you that at the workshop as well. I have my own company, and of course, I have invoices. So instead of taking the paper invoice and putting it into my accounting system, I've created a simple flow. In this flow, we will, in this case, I can manually trigger it because it's a demo, of course, but we will extract the information from that invoice using out of the box, off the shelf AI available to us. We'll get that information, we'll put it in an HTML table, we'll get my profile from Office 365 and will send me an email. Let me show you. We can test it if it wants to load, of course. There we go. I would, of course, put this flow, for instance, on my mailbox. Automatically, when an invoice comes into invoices@mycompany.com, then I can automatically get that invoice. Let me see if I can get the invoice. This is my background. There we go. So see if I have an invoice here. We run this flow. Thank you. Let's go back to my run, see how it's running. So in this case, it will take the invoice, it will extract the information from that invoice, it will create an HTML table. I want to have a nice email. This is just fancy stuff. I could just put it in there, but I just wanted to have a nice email for myself. It will get my profile and it will send me an email. There we go. And now it's just waiting for the email to come in. And it should be there within a second. It wants to go. Maybe because I'm on Do Not Disturb, it will take a while. And there did my email come in. Let me show you. Here's my email. I've added the invoice as well. And as you can see, it has an invoice ID, the date of the invoice, even with how confident the AI model was, the date of the invoice, the total, and the total and another total, the same total as well. And then my line items, what I bought. So just in case to show you that I'm not lying, this is the invoice. I paid $262.50. The email says $262.50, and I bought 250 decorative, a line total of 250 for the decorative frames. So that's already a first use case that we will cover, making my life or your life, maybe in this case, easier for invoice retrieval and stuff. We'll go to these, we can play around with these pre-built models as well. This is Document Intelligence Studio. We'll cover lots of technologies. Could be, it's now January, May is, end of April is like years away in this case because AI changes so much. So it could be that this doesn't look anymore the same thing in April. It could be really good. So in this case, we will also learn just, okay, I have an invoice. Let me just open it up. Let me run my analysis. And we can see this is actually the technology behind what I'm using in my flow, that once the default out-of-the-box AI model, it can recognize the addresses, it can recognize recipients, it can recognize dates, line numbers, totals, tax IDs, all that stuff. So with this, while we're playing around with this, you probably have invoices laying there as well. You can play around with this, and then you can immediately see, the AI model, out-of-the-box AI model, you don't have to configure anything, already knows all this information. So is this good enough for my use case, for instance? Do we need to add something? Is it 80% my use case, or is it 99.9% my use case? If it's 99.9 your use case, you can just go ahead, build your flow, and you're good to go. What else will we cover, for instance? We will cover Copilot Studio agents, but not just a simple Microsoft demo. Okay, yeah, this is how you build an agent. No, in this case, I have a tax agent, but I've not only created a tax agent, I've played around with it, and I've I have the same questions for, let me show you, I have a SharePoint site. I have the same questions, the same tax questions in one big PDF file. Or I have the same tax questions in an Excel file. See, just question answer. Very simple use case. Or I have the same questions and the same tax questions in a folder, and every question is in a single document. So I've created 10 documents with just the question and the answer. So I've created multiple agents, one for the PDF, one for the Excel, which I call excellent text agent, one for the AI import from SharePoint. So you can also import it from SharePoint. You can use AI search, which is an Azure service. So they call it AI search. There you can also upload your documents, or you can put it in a folder, or you can use a tool. And I have all these agents. See, this one is using the Excel file. This one is using SharePoint and OneDrive MCP. So MCP is also a new fancy word, mobile context protocol. We'll see all about that one. I'm not going to blow you away with all the fancy words these days they're using. It's a protocol that AI uses to talk to AI. We have the AI search, and we have all there's those others that we have. And they will all say, okay, how do I need to pay VAT? And they will all answer, but they will all answer a little bit differently. And the question is, or what we will need to find out, and especially depending on your use case, is which one is right for me. For instance, these are tax questions. You don't want the thing to go haywire with tax questions. You don't want it to invent stuff like, oh yeah, you have to pay a 21% tax while you only have to pay 16% tax. That's really not good. So we always want, for instance, that there's like a reference. I found this in this document over there. But now what we'll figure out that together during the workshop, what will be the best answer, for instance, in this use case. And I will show you the way to, if you have your own use case, how to, investigate to find the correct solution to your problem. I can ask that question 5 times and you will get 5 sometimes exact answers and sometimes just slightly different. And then we'll have to figure out which one is the correct one. And then finally, totally at the end, we'll dive into AI Microsoft Foundry. It used to be AI Foundry and now, or Azure Foundry, now it's Microsoft Foundry, which is on the edge, I have to admit. This is also used by data scientists, but we can also use it ourselves. We can use it to deploy a simple model. So in this case, we can do GPT-4, GPT-5, everything we want to use, GPT-4 Mini, which is really cool because we can start playing around with them and we can start seeing what do they know and what don't they know. We can then, for instance, build ourselves an agent really super fast. I can just say a new agent. I can give it an ID. I give it a ChatGPT. I give it my instructions. So you are an agent that answers HR questions. We can say, okay, give it a description. And we can, of course, one button, we can just add knowledge. So we can add files. We can add, like I said, the Azure AI search. We can add files from SharePoint. We can do Bing search as well if you want a bot that only scouts the web. Bing custom search, of course, if you only want to do a part of the web. We can do, for instance, TripAdvisor. Yeah, that's an example from Microsoft, or Microsoft Fabric if we only want to know our structured data, like, okay, what's in SQL, and what if you have a company that uses lots of structured data like SQL, and I have a customer as well. They all the numbers that the machines crank out. Okay, was this temperature at this moment, and this was the pressure at that moment. Everything is kept into databases. Of course, if you add that knowledge to your agent, then the agent can also answer questions about those numbers. Okay, what was the pressure like yesterday? Is it more than the day before? And can you analyze the pressure? And maybe because the pressure was a little bit too high on Saturday, on Sunday, the machine broke down. So next time, okay, we can automate that. If the pressure goes a little bit too high, the AI can detect it, and we can, of course, do preventive maintenance and all that stuff. We'll get deeper to that during the workshop. And of course, we can also do connected agents, which is the new thing right now. So an agent calling an agent, talking to an agent. So you have multiple AIs talking to each other and working together. You can see that as your colleagues. Maybe some at the office as well. I have someone who's an expert in marketing. I have someone who's an expert in legal matters. I have someone who's an expert in accounting. And every now and then, we all get together into a meeting room and we work together on projects or on stuff that we have to do. Same with the AI agents. You put them all together in a room and you have them have a discussion as well. The only thing you need to do is make sure that you're the human that oversees everything, that they don't go off on a rampage. And then, of course, like I said, actions. This is the next level of generation. So you can actually, if the AI detects something, like for instance, there's going to be need for preventive maintenance on this machine, then of course do for call a logic app, send an email, make a task for somebody in engineering that they have to look at the machine, that they have to start maintenance work, put it on their schedule and their calendar. So that's the next generation. We'll discuss those very deeply as well. Okay, AI is one thing, it can understand my data, I can talk to it, but what's the next level? The next level is that it does something for me. And of course, we can even go further with that one because this is all text-based, but we can also make it voice-enabled. I'm doing a project or helping somebody right now that when a customer calls, that the call is answered by a voice agent. So that's not an answering machine, it's an actual AI agent trained on their data so that it can actually answer questions, first-line questions, but basic first-line questions in a real human voice, sounding real, not like an answering machine or not like a really like a robot like a computer voice thingy generated. No, it actually sounds really nice and really good. You can even select if you play around with it, we can even select the type of voice we're using and all that stuff. Even video translation, really good example. We have to do trainings for a company. My colleague does the training, but he can only do it in English and Dutch, but he needs to do it in French. He records it, we dub it in French with his personal voice, and it looks exactly like him. It's okay. It looks a little bit like a German dubbed version of The Simpsons, because if you have to go to Germany, I've been there once and it was on the TV. So Homer talks, but yeah, his mouth is not moving to the same speed as the words are coming out because it's dubbed, of course. But at least people can understand him. It's the same voice, and the translation is actually really, really good. So we'll get a deep dive into that, all of that during the workshop. Now, that was maybe a little bit much on technology. And of course, that day will end with your first AI project. If you want to do an AI project, tips and tricks, what you have to take into account, what you will have to do. So for instance, this is my go-to slide if I need to do an AI project. Okay, what's the problem? Really discuss the problem, because sometimes, yeah, people think that's the thing these days. AI can solve everything. No, it's not. AI cannot solve everything, but it can help solve problems that we couldn't solve before. Do we need additional data? Because, like I said, AI is trained on public data. Yeah, it has no idea what our company sells. It has no idea what we do daily. It has no idea on our proprietary data, on things that we only know as a company. We have to choose our model. One model is more chatty than the other. The other model is more expensive than the other model. So yeah, make a good selection on that one. Maybe we have to configure and train the model. So maybe it's not good enough that the model knows our data, but maybe we'll have to train it as well to know our data. The main part that we have to do is evaluate. That's with AI, continuous evaluation. The cool thing about that one is also a good tip is AI can evaluate AI. If I ask any one of you at the end of the day, did you do a good job? Everybody will say yes, because that's the human trait. You will say, yeah, I did a good job. If you ask AI, so it answered the question, and then you go back to the same AI model and you say, did you answer a good question? If your prompt is correct, did you answer that question correctly? It will be totally honest. It will say, no, this is really, really, really bad. And if so, if you can automate that evaluation, of course, you already know when your model is going, haywire, even before everybody starts complaining. So those evaluations are very important. And then how to deploy and how to, again, monitor and evaluate, because continuous evaluation is a thing with AI. So I really hope you register. I hope to see you in Orlando. I'm hearing the weather will be great. It will be super fun. We'll have much to learn, much to discuss. If you're there, if you still have to register, you can use my discount code. If you're there, be sure to say hi, even if you're not in my workshop, if you're somebody else's workshop, but be sure to say hi. My name is Rick. I'm from Belgium. I'm from the user group in Belgium as well. I was CTO at the founder of Microsoft MVP. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.